I'm just going to talk briefly about carbon tooling. This is a technique, it's quite an old technique. Originally the carbon used was soot from a candle, but what we're going to do is use carbon paper. This is an old sheet of carbon paper. Unfortunately, modern or relatively modern carbon paper doesn't quite work in the same way, so it does have to be quite an old sheet. I suspect these are from the 60s or something, but you can still find them if you're lucky, but certainly try them before you buy them if you're able to do so, if you can get hold of them at all, obviously. But the good thing is that just one sheet of this lasts for a long time. This is a sheet I've been using for probably over a year now, maybe more, maybe a couple of years. And it's just starting to get to the end of its life. There's a few little tears in it, but there's a lot of carbon on there, so it lasts a good while. So this is just a sheet of carbon paper, just sellotaped to a board. And the process is very similar to normal tooling. So we'll use a fillet wheel. The temperature is still important. You don't want to melt the carrier for the paper or obviously damage the cloth or leather that you're going to use, so you still need to cool that. Just until the sizzle is almost gone. There we go. And essentially all you need to do is just roll, in this case, roll your tool several times on the carbon paper, and the edge of the tool picks up the carbon. And then it's just a question of transferring that to your piece. So it makes a nice black line. Now, with a wheel like this, you can of course do curves as well if you wish. Just freehand. If you want to do a straight line or indeed a gentle curve against a template, you can do that too. So it's quite a straightforward technique in that respect. Now, this is some paper-backed rayon, I think it is. But it works with just about anything. This is, I think this is from Winters, Gibletta, I think it is. So again, standard bookbinding cloth. And it makes quite a nice mark. You can of course use other tools. You can use hand letters if you wish. Or any kind of design of tool. The process is just the same. In this case, multiple impressions on the carbon paper to pick the ink up. And you get a nice impression, like so. Bear in mind that some carbon will remain on the tool, so you do need to wipe it off when you've finished working with it, because you don't want that to transfer onto another piece at a later stage that isn't supposed to be black. So there's a couple of different kinds of cloth. Here's some buckram. Buckram works very well with this technique. I suppose it's a nice smooth surface. Again, same process. Like so. And let's try it with a centre tool as well. It's a bit of a more complicated design, of course, more fine detail. That might get lost on normal book cloth, potentially, depending on the tool. But it's generally good on buckram. So now in terms of leather, it works extremely well on leather. we've got a few pieces here. We've got some fair goat, some calf, and some, I think that's Oasis coloured leather. So let's just try these. Again, you don't want to scorch the leather, so temperature is important. Inch of ink on from the carbon paper. You get a lovely bright line, nice and crisp. So in all these cases, the quality of the line is actually very, very good on leather. It works really well. There is a note of caution here, and that is that you may find, depending on the material you're using, you may find that even after it's dried and so on, that it will actually smudge. I don't know whether it will here. Let's have a look. Not really. Oh, it does a little bit on that. May on the buckram. Yes, there's some smudging on the buckram. So you do have to be careful of that, and that won't really dry to the point at which it won't do that, so you have to protect it. Now you could use an fixative spray, which puts a light coating over the top. That would solve it in most cases. When I'm working with leather, what I tend to do is I've got some varnish, some bookbinder's varnish, shellac varnish, which somebody gave me a while ago, and that works extremely well. And what I tend to do is just paint it into the design, just over the black, because you don't want it on the rest of the binding, of course. So I kind of laboriously just go over it. The other advantage is that it does give it a nice shine. I mean, it's a bit shiny anyway, but that does give it a bit more of a shine, so that can be quite a nice effect. So that's what I tend to do when I'm using this technique on leather. But try it, see what works. I'm sure there are other things you can use to seal the carbon. One of the questions you may have is, well, why don't you just use black foil? And of course you can use black foil. This is a relatively, well, sort of a satin finish, I would say, not exactly matte, more of a satin finish you get from this. And you can use foil. The difference is with this, or the advantage of this, is that the foil's not getting in the way, so you can see exactly where you're tooling, which makes it very easy. It's a bit like you would with gold leaf, for example. There are certainly advantages to doing it like that. So I'm just going to try this centre tool on more of an open weave cloth, just to see what it comes out like. Plenty of pressure. That's come out okay, actually. So there you go. That's carbon tooling. It's a nice technique to get black designs. Cheap, cheerful, but it works really well. Like I say, just with the one proviso of having a bit of a test run first to see whether it works on the material that you're using, and to see whether it smudges, and if it does, then have a play about with the options to see what you can do to seal it. But a great technique, I think.